questions. What are we talking about? And here's a lovely little quote. I have no special talent. No special talent. I'm only passionately curious. And Einstein said that. And there's an awful lot in that. He had no talent by his own devices, but he was constantly asking questions all the time, questioning things and moving it on. And he was an amazing guy. He really was. And he was a normal guy. We forget about that. During his lifetime, when he was working between 1902 and 1909, he worked in Bern, in Switzerland, in the patent office. And it was during that time that he published his most landmark papers. He had a day job. And he was thinking of all these things while going to work, like you and I have our own day events. We're here in university, or we're working at our jobs, at our passions. But that doesn't stop us from thinking, from questioning things. And this is one thing that we all have, and nobody can take it away from us. The right to our own power of thought. We can think what we like. We have that freedom. And we should be thinking, and thinking differently. And it's an extraordinary thing. There's a great story about Einstein that during, when he was at Princeton University, he set an exam for his students. And one of the students went up to him and said, Professor Einstein, I think you've made a mistake. These are the same questions as you gave us last year. And he replied, yes, but the answers are different this year. And there's a lot in that. The world is moving so fast. My father is no longer with us. He passed away about 5 years ago. He was the hardest working man that I've ever known. He was an extraordinary man. But he came from a generation where you had one job for life. That was it. And you worked really hard. Our generation, they say, will have 7 jobs during our lifetime. We'll move from 1 to 2 to 3. The next generation that comes on, that are going through university at the moment, that are going through schools, they'll probably have 7 jobs at the one time, all together. How do we actually train for that? How do we learn? How do we prepare for things that we do not know are going to happen? We've got to think differently all the time. I work with some amazing people, and I'm going to explain why I work with them and what it means for me and what my passion is and what drives me. But when we're talking about a question, what question will I start with? Well, why? It's an amazing question. Why? Why do I get out of bed in the morning? Why do I choose to do the passions that I like, whether it be playing guitar, whether it be studying for my master's, whether it be studying for a bachelor in economics, whatever it may be? Why do you do that? Is it because you're driven by something? And there was an amazing TED talk by this guy, Simon Sinek. Please look it up. An amazing talk, and it certainly inspired me. And this is the whole idea of TED. Sharing ideas and inspiring. And Simon had a fantastic theory. And he basically said was, everybody knows what they do, 100%. Most people know how they do that. Very few people know why they do it. And he codified it, and he put it into this thing called the golden circle. And when he sees by why you do it, he doesn't mean, and he explains this, he doesn't mean to make a profit. That's a result, as he says. It's, what's your passion? Why do people respond to certain people, or brands, or companies, or communities? And he used Apple as an example. Why are Apple constantly innovating? And he came up with the conclusion that it's the way we communicate. We communicate from the inside out, from what we're passionate about inside, not what everybody can see, the outside, the facts and the figures. And I work with an amazing lady in Dublin, Joanne Hession of QED. And her goal, her passion, is to light 10,000 fires and to call for 1,000 leaders. Now, it's not to physically go around and light fires. It's a euphemism. What she means is, we're trying to set up businesses We help young entrepreneurs set up businesses. We want to light the 10,000 fires of get 10,000 people back into employment, creating jobs by the year 2020. And we do that by helping people set up and stay in business. And the call for 1,000 leaders is 1,000 leaders to help them do that. And Lassie said earlier on there about, technology can change politics, can save the world. It can, and we'll be talking about a little bit of that. But it's driven by the passion. And Simon explains it really, really well. He codified what I believed. And what I believed was that we buy from people. I was in sales for 6.5 years. We used to sell yachts and boats. Why did people buy a yacht from me and not somebody else? Because there was trust there. Why did they trust me? I mean, we don't know what drives one person. But Simon codified it. And he says, it's all down to doing business with people because of what they believe. I'll let him explain it. You should just play there in a second.
The goal is to do business with people who believe what you believe. Here's the best part. None of what I'm telling you is my opinion. It's all grounded in the tenets of biology, not psychology, biology. If you look at a cross-section of the human brain, looking from the top down, what you see is the human brain is actually broken into 3 major components that correlate perfectly with the golden circle. Our newest brain, our Homo sapien brain, our neocortex, corresponds with the what level. The neocortex is responsible for all of our rational and analytical thought and language. The middle 2 sections make up our limbic brains, and our limbic brains are responsible for all of our feelings, like trust and loyalty. It's also responsible for all human behavior, all decision-making, and it has no capacity for language. In other words, when we communicate from the outside in, yes, people can understand vast amounts of complicated information like features and benefits and facts and figures. It just doesn't drive behavior. When we communicate from the inside out, we're talking directly to the part of the brain that controls behavior, and then we allow people to rationalize it with the tangible things we say and do. This is where gut decisions come from. Sometimes you can give somebody all the facts and figures, and they say, I know what all the facts and details say, but it just doesn't feel right. Why would we use that verb? It doesn't feel right. Because the part of the brain that controls decision-making doesn't control language. And the best we can muster up is, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right.
It's an extraordinary thing. And we live in a new world where social media is huge. It really is. And it comes in various different flavors. Some people like Coca-Cola. Some people like Orange, 7-Up, Sprite, Dr. Pepper. How are you going to know what social media you like, what flavor you like, without trying it? And then how do you get that passion out? How do you get people to buy from you? Well, you've got loads of choices of social media sites. There are hundreds and thousands of them out there. How do you choose them? Do they get your message across? The next speaker is going to use Prezi. It's an alternative to PowerPoint, and it's different, and it'll tell the story differently. So I'm going to dismiss these ones out, and we're going to talk about what really works for some people today. Who here is on Facebook? Yeah? Who's on Twitter? Who's on LinkedIn? Yeah. How are you communicating? How do people see you using those networks? Well, let's talk about that. So I'm going to throw this up and have a look. Well, no matter what network you're on, these are my 3 tips. If you get this, you've got it. I call them the 3 Ps. The first thing you do is you protect your brand. You grab the name, whatever it may be, yourbusinessname.com. Or if it's your own person, if you are trading as yourself or you want to get your ideas out and it's you, the person, not the business, you've got to protect that by grabbing the name. On Facebook, on LinkedIn, the YouTube channel, not just the website. And then what you do is you promote yourself. You say what you do in text, in words, and video, and pictures. But the search engines don't see the pictures or the videos. They see the words associated with them. They rank you, and that's how people will find. And this is where social media has changed. You participate. People will have the ability to ask you questions, to comment on your business, on your passion, whether they like it, whether they don't like it. And you've got to participate. That's how you get your why out there, your passion, your personality. And these three things are perfectly mapped to what Simon Sinek was talking about. The protect is the what you do, the name of the site, the name of your passion. The promote is how you do it. You're saying how you do it, you're promoting yourself. But the participation is how you get across the why I do it, why I'm passionate about it, why you should buy from me or buy into my idea. And you've got to know that there are multiple personas online. You can have your personal Facebook page, as I do, and it's shared with my family, my friends, people close to me. But then I have a business page that is completely separate. And I don't want photographs of me hanging out of a chandelier with a pint of Guinness in my hand at a stag weekend or something up on my business page. You've got to keep them separate. Protect, promote, participate. Facebook. It's important to remember, why is Facebook so popular? But it's important to remember how it started. And back in the States, when you went to college, you got a yearbook. And it was brilliant. In your yearbook, you'd have photographs of your fellow students. So when you meet them, I've met a few people today, I won't remember all your names. It's impossible. This helped. And sometimes it would say things that you were doing, your passion, your why. So here's one from the late 50s, early 60s. And here's a guy here, Robert Zimmerman. And you can see here, it actually said he was going to join the Little Richard Latin Club and the Social Studies Club. And that is Bob Dylan. That was his yearbook. And Facebook was born when this guy got his yearbook and stuck it up online. That was it. And that will never end. Whatever Facebook turns into, that will never change. That passion for sharing media. If I looked under my mum's bed, there's a shoebox with photographs in it belonging to my granny. And in the photographs, if you turn them over, it's got people's names on the back of it. Facebook does that digitally, and we love it. It creates our passion. And I often am asked, by the way, in business, I want more likes on my page. But you wouldn't do this in real life. You wouldn't go around and say, I want to be liked more, so please go around and tell everyone just how good I am. You wouldn't do that. So why do you do it on the internet? You don't. To become more likable, you become more likable by creating things that people will like, that have your passion, that have your beliefs, that have your cause. Here is an example of a little small town in Switzerland called Obermann and what they did with their passion.
In Switzerland's Graubünden region, there are several tiny, beautiful villages. Unfortunately, no one's ever heard of them. This is Obermutten. 78 residents, 1 church, 1 hotel, and a few cows. But then one day Obermutten launches a Facebook page.
Unsere Gemeinde hat seit heute eine Facebook-Seite.
The promise? Hit the like button and we'll put you on the village bulletin board. And a lot of people seem to like Obermutten. Soon the bulletin board is full, and soon half the village. But the good people of Obermutten stick to their promise. Every fan is posted, even if everyone in the village has to help out. Obermutten becomes the most active Facebook page in Switzerland. 4 out of 5 fans interact with the page, which is better than with Lady Gaga, Coca-Cola, and Justin Bieber. The new members receive a warm welcome. Every question is answered.
Wir sind uns da bewusst, dass es Verzögerungen gegeben hat, aber wir müssen uns auch begreifen. Die Frau und ich haben hier einen Gasthof.
After only 4 weeks, Obermutten has fans from 32 countries on every continent in the world. And Obermutten has more fans than St. Moritz, Helsinki, and Florence.
Ein kleines Bergdorf in der Schweiz.
Facebook 홈페이지에 사진을 올리는 사람.
By now, more than 60 million people have read, seen, or heard about Obermutten. Traffic on the Graubünden tourism website increased by 250%. 10,000 Swiss francs turned into the media equivalent of 2.4 million. Today, this small village in the Swiss mountains has friends all over the world. Thousands have promised to visit, hundreds have already done so. And just yesterday, resident number 79 was born.
Isn't that extraordinary? 78 people in a village came together with one cause to promote their village, and they came up with one simple idea. if you like our page, we will post your profile up on our bulletin board. And they ran out of space. It's extraordinary, very, very simple. Well, it's important to remember that to get yourself out there, you've got to present a persona. And if you walk like a duck and talk like a duck, people will think you're a duck. It's very simple. To make yourself an expert in your field, you put yourself out there as an expert in your field. But that brings one small problem. On Twitter, I can put anything up. Does that mean it's true? I could tweet, it's such sad news that the Pope has died. Does that make it true? How do we stop those things from coming viral? And if you look online, I think Morgan Freeman has died about 6 times in the last 3 months. There has to be a way of doing that, and it's a business opportunity for some people. And those people, as an example, is Storyful, an amazing business, based in Dublin in Ireland, where I'm from, run by journalists for journalists. And they're curating news. It's led by Mark Little, who worked for our state broadcaster, and David Clinch, who's ex-CNN. And what they do is they authenticate social media, tweets and videos, to see are they true. They authenticate, they validate, they put them in a small little package and sell them to news agency. It's called curation. And it's an amazing little business idea. And it's changed the way that we get our news. And these things, mobile phones, are creating the ability to share. Their own little mobile phone recording studio. We're tweeting live from this event at the moment, and there are people all around the world watching it and watching for the updates. That's extraordinary power. You've got to decide how you're going to be perceived and get your passion out there. And that can come from many things. Here's a guy. Would you trust this guy with your cat? He is in Philadelphia, and he travels around with his cat on his bike. Does he put him into a little basket? Does he put him in a bag? While he's currying, the cat sits on his shoulder. So would you trust him with your cat? Straight away, loads of people said yes, but you don't know him. Isn't it extraordinary, that power, when you see that visual message? Well, we have a little small saying. This is Irish, and it's Shillig Sula. Shillig Sula. And basically what it means in English is think differently. And I'm a huge fan of Steve Jobs. And Steve, when he arrived back into Apple, that was his why. That's how Apple communicate. Everything we do because we think differently than everybody else. We want to make a difference to how you access the internet, how you use a computer, how you use your mobile phone. And we have a little small video, and it was originally voiced by Richard Dreyfuss, but I think it's much better having Steve Jobs describe it himself.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them. Because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
Thank you very much.